Okay, let's get Project Watershed kicked off. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to start completely from scratch. But if you have already started, I would suggest you just go through this video. You can speed it up if you'd like, because there's some significant changes that I've made as I've been working through this. And now I've got it down, and I think it's going to look good. Okay, click on Map for New Project, okay, and you're always going to need to be aware of where you're going to put that project, okay? So always keep in mind you're not creating a folder here, you're pointing the software to what folder you want to put the project in. Okay, so let's put it in LARC 2333, okay, and that's the name of the folder down there, so I'm going to say okay. Now, I've done a few of these, so I'm going to name this something that I can easily recognize. I'm just going to call it, I haven't done a landscape style, so I'm going to do a 24 by 18 Watershed demo. Okay, and it will create a folder for this project. Okay, so we're going to click OK. And what we're going to do first is set our global or our projection for the entire US. And so we're going to come over here, just double click on your map, go to coordinate system, okay, and this is the one you want, USA contiguous Albers equal conic. If you don't find it, if you haven't favorited that, open up your projected coordinate systems, go to continental, North America, scroll down here, USA contiguous. Okay, click OK. All right, looks good. And again, the purpose of projections is to heighten the accuracy within our AOI. Okay, so now let's go to our catalog, and we are going to add our hydrologic unit codes. So I'm going to come up to Portal. I am going to go to the Living Atlas, and I am going to type in HUC2. Okay, boom, right there. So nice. Okay, we could just drag and drop that over. Okay, I am going to pick a HUC2. So I'm not going to add the HUC4, but if you want to do a smaller watershed, feel free to add a HUC4, okay? Remember, the smaller the number, the bigger the watershed, okay? So I have decided that I am going to do a 24-inch by 18-inch presentation sheet, okay? So obviously this watershed here wouldn't work. And what I'm going to do is this layer is selected, okay, and when you select a layer like this, it gives you the options past the help, to the right of the help tab. It gives you the extra tabs that are tailored specifically for the layer you selected, okay? And so we can label this layer and just boom, and that way I'll know what my HUC is called. All right, so let's go to Ohio. Okay, that could fit, or that Tennessee region could be really cool too. Okay, I'm going to do this Tennessee region. The Ohio region would really need to be in a 24 by 24 inch layout. So that's how we're going to do this project. You can either do it at 24 inches by 18, okay, 18 by 24, or 24 by 24 inch square, okay. So I'm gonna put in my layout, and I want this 18 by 24. Okay, I always say 24 by 18. This is the way I do it, and I'm not going to change, because you always run down the x-axis first, and then you jump up into the y. None in 5th grade told me you run before you jump, and I'm sticking to that. Okay, so now my my huck is called Tennessee. I don't know how to spell that one. Okay, 2 E's at the end. Okay, but 2 N's, 2 S's, and 2 E's. Okay. I'm sorry. This phone is going nuts. All right. So that works. And what we're going to do now is we are going to, let's just bring in our map while we're here. Okay. And we're going to grab up from there and pull it all the way down. Okay. Now let's go back to our map, and we want to extract our huck feature out of this feature class that has all of them in it. So we're going to go up to edit, we're going to choose select, and we're simply going to select our huck. And we come over to our layer, right click, go down to data, export the feature, and I'm going to call this, that input feature stays the same, and then the output feature, I am going to just refer to this as the TN region. Okay, and let's click OK. All right, now this is important. Since my huck is relatively centered in the US, I don't need to change my projection. But if you're on these corners, especially if you're far away from the geometric center of the US, the continental US, your states are going to look pretty wonky. And if that's the case, I want you to double click in here, go back to that coordinate system, and go to projected, go down to state plane. Okay, just choose this 2011 and find the one that works for you. Okay, there's a state plane coordinate system for every state in the country. Okay, so what I want to do now is clear my selection, and I am going to remove this layer that I'm streaming in. So I'm going to remove that, and I've done quite a bit of work, so I'm going to just hold down Control and tap S. Okay, I'm going to click on Tennessee, and I am going to turn off the labeling. Okay, and now most of the work, if not all of the work that we're going to do from here on out, is going to be in our layout. So right click on these fellas, we don't need them, and let's head over here. And this is a critical part of setting up any project that is eventually going to be put on paper, and so many of your projects will be. Okay, as much as we like to think we live in a digital age, as designers and architects, people need stuff printed out and in front of them, okay, especially on the job site. And that requires creating a scale. Because remember, what we are actually doing here is we're creating a model of an external reality, okay? And it's important that you wrap your head around that idea that this is, I don't want to use the word toy, but people used to, painstakingly make like model airplanes and cars, and every part was to scale, okay? And that's so important for what we do, because people aren't just going to be looking at this stuff, they're going to be taking measurements off of your sheet of paper. Okay, so the scale is critical. And the way I always start by getting my scale put together in GIS is I right click on my AOI when I'm in the layout space, and I choose zoom to layer, okay? And that centers it and fits it right where I want it. Okay, this is gonna work really well. I think I can take this down to 250 or maybe 275. Remember, the smaller the number, the bigger your fella gets. And since my fella is a little, skinny, I'm gonna use that beefy scale. Okay, so now what I want to do is just slightly position it a little bit over to the right. And to do that, you got to be careful that you're not going to zoom in and out. You're only going to use your pan tool, okay? So right click and choose activate, and your pan tool is immediately activated when you do this. And I just want to move it a hair over here, okay? So it's nice and centered. And if you look at the Photoshop templates I gave you, we're going to have a very minimal title block, okay? And a lot of that information is going to be here. Credits are going to go over here, and then this is going to give me plenty of room for the nice title that we have, okay? So now I'm done setting the scale and the position of my AOI, and so I'm going to click on here. It's really important that you get out of activation mode, okay? So click on that layout, and now if you were going to move anything, it would just be your map frame because you're working with the sheet of paper. So speaking of map frame, let's double click on that. And I always used to name this something different, but it can get confusing having all of this here. And so just leave it as map frame because that tells you exactly what it is, okay? So let's head over to the position. We're locked in nice and tight, okay? Display, you want to take that off, okay? Make that 0 points, and just for extra measure, you give it no color. Okay, now come over here. This is key. Display constraints, okay? Come down and say fixed center and scale because we got you. And then over here, we're going to leave all of that alone. Okay, now to end out this first mini video of just getting started, I want to add the state borders, okay? So we're going to give our viewers a sense of context, okay? And so I am just going to type in US boundary. Let's see what we get here. US counties, states, country bounty, United States country boundary. No, state boundaries. Okay. So let's grab this one and pull it over here. Okay, so everything is being symbolized with this green rectangle. hideous. So I want you to click on that, and I want you to click on this dashed border. That's what you're gonna start with, okay? But now I want you to go to properties, okay, and come to this layers, okay? And we're gonna beef that up to 2. All right, make sure your auto apply is checked so you can see it. All right, and now for the dash effect, we have this kind of well, I shouldn't say that. Okay, this is how you're supposed to delineate states. So this 844 pattern, we're just gonna stick with that. Okay, so that looks okay. But you know what? Everything looks like it's sliding to the right. You know, I thought I was enough in the center of the US, but really I'm not, okay? And if this happens, take this extra step, because if you don't do this step and you start exporting all of these different layers, you're gonna have to do it all over again, because we're all going to produce really good work in this project. So I have to do a few things. I'm going to come over to map frame. I'm going to double click on it, and that activates this element pane. And I'm going to come here to my display options, and I am going to turn that to none. Now, if your states are just a little bit off, you can use this rotation tool, okay? But if they're way off, then you want to put in a proper projection, okay? So in this case, what I'm going to do is hit 0, okay? And I am going to go double click on my map. And this is going to provide, this map here is exactly the same as that map there, okay? So I'm going to twirl these guys up. I'm going to go to projected. I'm going to go to state plane. 2011 meters is fine. And then I got to find Tennessee. God, I had to drive through that state once. That was the longest. I think it took me like 9 hours. It's a long state. All right, it's Tennessee. All right, let's get you going here. Where are you at? You only got one projection. You got a state that long. Okay, that's the kind of folks you're dealing with. All right, look it. There we go. I guess that's why they only need one. Okay, so now let's double click on our map frame. Make sure your scale is still set good. At this point, you shouldn't need a rotation, and now you're going to do your fixed center and scale. Okay, I want you to hold down Control and tap S. Okay, now give me 1 second. Okay, at this point, make sure you download this Project Watershed template file from Blackboard. Okay. And unzip it and bring all of, and just copy and paste that folder into your project folder, okay? So inside your project, you should have this, okay? Now I want you to just double click on that and call this TN rendering. Just let's keep them real simple. Okay, now keep a copy of that zipped folder, okay? Because there's some good stuff in there we may use later. Okay, double click on this. Now, mine is 24 by 18. So we're going to get rid of everything else, and that's why I want you to keep a copy of that zipped. If not, you can always download it from Blackboard. But we want to keep this folder clean, and so everything else that's not 24 by 18, we want to get rid of. And these models shouldn't be in here. Okay, I'll get rid of those. If you're doing this before I have a chance to get rid of those, just throw them out. I mean, they're great, but I didn't want to get into that with this lab. Okay, so I have my two 24 by 18 templates, okay, and this is where we are going to put all of our exports from ArcGIS, okay? So the first thing we're gonna wanna export is our Tennessee region, okay? So turn off your states and you're gonna come up to Share, okay, and Export Layout. Okay, now this is where I've changed a few things. And one of them is I do want us to remove the layout background. It's a lot easier in Photoshop if we do that, and we're not dealing with masks and layer blends unless we really have to. Okay, so navigate to this project, which is going to be at the top of your list here. Open up your folders. Okay, there's the Watershed demo. There's my TN rendering. Okay, now you don't need to do a lot of fancy naming here other than just tell yourself exactly what it is, okay? So just type in Watershed boundary. And that's an important one. Now it needs to be a PDF, okay? And let's leave this on LZW because that's going to support transparency, all right? And we do want this raster to be the best as possible, okay? And just hit export. Wow, okay, that was super quick. All right, now turn off your Tennessee region and turn on your US states. And boy, we got a lot of them, okay? So what I'm gonna do, just to help me, is click on this guy, come up to labeling, and this will help me because you're gonna label these individually in Photoshop, and the template is going to help you with that, okay? I already have the text file set for you. Okay, but we don't want to be naming the states the wrong thing. Okay, so this is good, and what we're going to do now, everything is the same. Come up here, and we're just going to call this state boundaries. Okay, export that. Okay, that's it for this lab. I'm gonna post another video pretty soon, okay? But this is, we're off to a really good start. Now make sure you hold down Control and tap S. Sometimes it doesn't like me, so I come up there and click it, okay? And I will see you in the next video.